When Hollywood Insider announced that Diana Gabaldon, the creator of Outlander, would sit down for a rare, unfiltered interview, no one expected what would come next. The article's headline alone was enough to send the fandom into a frenzy. They were never just co-stars. Within hours, the internet was on fire. Fans around the world were asking the same question. What exactly did Diana mean? Was she finally confirming what millions had suspected for years, that something deeper existed between Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe? In the quiet of her New Mexico study, surrounded by shelves of old manuscripts, Diana began to tell the story from the beginning. I remember their first chemistry test, she said with a nostalgic smile. We were sitting behind the monitor, and when Sam looked at her, it wasn't acting. It was instinct. It was as if they'd already known each other for years. She recalled how the casting team fell silent. The scene ended, but neither Sam nor Caitriona moved. They just stayed in character, breathing the same air, connected by something invisible. I knew right then, Diana said, that Outlander had found its heart, and maybe those two had found something else too. In the early seasons, the production set in the Scottish Highlands became their world. They worked long hours in freezing weather, often isolated from family and friends. According to Diana, that's where the bond truly began. They leaned on each other, she explained. It wasn't about glamour. It was survival, emotional, creative, human. She laughed softly when recalling the small things. How Caitriona would bring Sam hot tea between takes. How Sam once refused to leave set until she finished a particularly difficult scene. He said, "If she's here freezing, I'm staying too." That wasn't a line from a script, that was loyalty. But as Outlander grew into a worldwide phenomenon, so did the fascination with its two stars. People stopped seeing Jamie and Claire as fiction, Diana said. They wanted them to be real, and that created pressure I could feel, even from the sidelines. Diana witnessed the shift up close. During one particularly intense scene from season 2, she stood behind the cameras as Sam and Caitriona performed a farewell that felt almost too raw. When the director yelled cut, she recalled, Sam just stayed there, tears still running. It wasn't acting anymore. The crew went silent. Caitriona reached out and touched his arm, and for a moment, it felt like we'd all stepped into something private. That was the first time, Diana admitted, that she sensed the line between performance and reality blur. There was love there, she said carefully, but not the kind that fits neatly into words. By the time filming for Outlander 2026 began, the long-anticipated final season, years of partnership had built something unspoken between them: trust, affection, and exhaustion. They'd grown together and apart at the same time, Diana explained. You could see it in how they avoided eye contact between takes, or how they'd start laughing too quickly, like trying to hide something heavier. Rumors had never stopped swirling, and both actors had learned to deflect gracefully. But on set, Diana said, there were still moments that betrayed the truth. During one late-night shoot in Glasgow, Sam forgot a line, completely unlike him. He laughed it off, but I noticed Caitriona looking at him with this mix of concern and fondness. After the scene, she whispered something to him, and he just nodded. When she walked away, he wiped his eyes. No one spoke about it again. As she recounted the story, Diana's tone shifted from playful to reflective. People always ask me if they were together, she said. The truth is, I don't think even they could define it. It was deeper than friendship, but not bound by the rules of romance. It was an understanding. She paused, glancing toward the window where the desert light spilled across her desk. That's what made them special, and what made it painful. Near the end of the interview, the journalist asked whether she thought the world would ever know the full story of Sam and Caitriona. Diana smiled, but her eyes glimmered with something unsaid. Maybe, she said, but not yet. Some stories need time, and some truths the world isn't ready to hear. Then she leaned forward, lowering her voice as if sharing a secret. But I will tell you this. On the final day of filming Outlander 2026, I saw something I'll never forget. And in that moment, I realized the truth, one the world was never supposed to see. Her words hung in the air like a riddle, a promise, and a warning all at once. The cameras stopped rolling, but everyone in that room knew the story wasn't finished. When the interviewer leaned closer and asked Diana what she meant by the truth the world was never supposed to see, she hesitated. For a long moment, she stared down at her hands, as if deciding whether she should say it at all. Finally, she sighed. It happened on their last day filming together, she began quietly. The final scene of Outlander 2026. The cast and crew had gathered on set in the Highlands, a grey morning filled with mist and nostalgia. After nearly a decade of working side by side, Sam and Caitriona were about to shoot their very last sequence as Jamie and Claire Fraser. Diana was there, standing behind the monitors, watching through the haze of rain and memory. It wasn't just another scene, she explained. It was goodbye. Not just for the characters, but for the people behind them. When the cameras started rolling, Sam and Caitriona didn't just act, they felt. Every glance, every line, carried the weight of 10 years of laughter, heartbreak, and shared history. Diana said she could sense the entire crew holding their breath as the two actors delivered their final words. Then the director called, "Cut," Diana continued, her voice trembling slightly. But they didn't stop. They stayed in each other's arms, long after the scene ended. Caitriona whispered something I couldn't hear. Sam closed his eyes, and I swear, I saw a tear fall. There was silence, not the awkward kind, but sacred silence. And when they finally pulled apart, it was like watching two souls say goodbye in real life. That moment, she said, changed the way she saw them forever. People ask me if they were ever in love, she said softly. The truth? Yes, but not in the way you think. It wasn't about romance or possession. It was something purer. They loved each other through the work, through the art, through everything they built together. And when the work ended, they had to set that love free. The interviewer was silent, moved by her honesty. Did they ever talk about it with you? Diana nodded slowly. A few days later, Caitriona called me. She said, I didn't realize how hard it would be to say goodbye to him. And Sam, when I saw him at the wrap party, he just smiled and said, it's strange, isn't it? When someone becomes part of who you are. She smiled faintly. They were never the type to make dramatic statements. They didn't need to. You could feel everything between them without a word being spoken. As the conversation went on, Diana revealed how protective she had always been of the two actors. They carried that story, my story, with such truth that sometimes I forgot it was fiction. But I also saw how much it cost them. Fame is a double-edged sword. The world fell in love with their chemistry, but it came with a price neither of them deserved. For years, she said, she watched them struggle under the weight of fan expectations. There were times they both wanted to quit, not because of each other, but because of everything around them. They didn't want to lose the friendship that held them together. She paused, then added with quiet conviction, they never did. In one of the final questions, the interviewer asked what Diana would say to fans still convinced that Sam and Caitriona had hidden a secret romance all these years. She chuckled softly. People always want to name things: friendship, love, soulmates. But some connections exist beyond language. What they shared can't be categorized. It was real, but it was theirs. Then, almost as an afterthought, she said something that would stay with readers long after the article was published. The truth is, Outlander was never just fiction. It was a mirror, and through Jamie and Claire, Sam and Caitriona learned how to love, lose, and let go. That's why the story felt so alive. Because a part of it was. After the interview aired, the fandom went into overdrive. Clips of Diana's quotes spread like wildfire. They loved each other through the work. It wasn't acting anymore. The truth was written between the lines. Neither Sam nor Caitriona responded publicly, but fans noticed something. On Caitriona's Instagram, she posted a quiet photo of the Scottish sky with the caption, "Grateful for every chapter." A day later, Sam posted an image from the same day, the same sky, different angle, with the words, "Some stories never really end." The internet exploded. But for Diana, watching it all unfold, there was only peace. Let them wonder, she said when asked about the posts. Some mysteries are meant to stay beautiful. As the interview concluded, Diana leaned back in her chair, her voice soft but certain. The truth about Sam and Caitriona, she said with a small, knowing smile. It was never about scandal. It was about connection, the kind that outlives the story itself. And with that, the woman who created their world closed the final page of the tale she had started, leaving millions of hearts aching, and believing, once again, that some loves are too real to ever fade.